Hi, thank you for joining me in the Louie file today. I hope this finds you well. We are in a little series I've titled The Apostle Paul's Mission. Today we're going to do part 6, which is going to find us in Acts chapter 26. Now, we started this whole thing in Acts chapter 9, and we've gone through Galatians 1 and Philippians 3 and 1 Timothy 1. We've looked at verses in each of these letters where the Apostle Paul is sharing his testimony, or at least a piece of his testimony in each of these places, which I find fascinating. Very important to do that. I think that sharing our personal testimony is a huge part of being a witness. Sharing the gospel, obviously, but if the gospel has not penetrated, if Christ himself has not transformed you, sharing the gospel might not have a whole lot of effect on other people. They really need to see it walking around in the flesh in you. So the Apostle Paul in Acts chapter 9 is converted. Jesus Christ calls him and tells him he's going to be this chosen instrument, vessel for him, and he's going to testify in front of Jews and Gentiles and kings. And that's what I'm going to look at today. In Acts chapter 26, we find Paul standing before a man named King Agrippa. The Apostle Paul has been arrested throughout his journey from Acts 9 up until this point. He's been mistreated, he's been abused, he's been stoned and left for dead, he's been whipped, he's been locked up in jail and prison more than once. He has appealed his case to Caesar. He is a Roman citizen, so he has the right as a Roman citizen to appeal his case. Each place he goes, they can't really charge him with anything. They don't really know what to charge him with. They're struggling with what to do with him. So here we see him sharing his story as to why he's standing before King Agrippa this very day. And he recounts when he ran into Jesus on the road to Damascus. But in Acts 26, he gives us some very amazing and important details that are not shared back in Acts 9. And this is where I wanted to get us to in the Apostle Paul's mission, because I think this clarifies it in a way that is not clear back in Acts 9. So we see Paul tells them his story and how he had believers locked up and put in prison, and he had the authority from the chief priest. That's Acts 26 verse 10. And he said, that's just what I did. He went to the synagogues, and in Acts 26:11 he says, and as I punished them often in all the synagogues, I tried to force them to blaspheme. And being furiously enraged at them, I kept pursuing them even to foreign cities. So the Apostle Paul was, for all practical purposes, a terrorist. That's right. He was a Jewish terrorist. We have terrorists in our world today, and I guess they've been around since forever in some form or the other. Probably tracing back to Cain when he killed Abel, if you want to get right down to it. We have people that are terrorizing, punishing, and killing other people for their beliefs, for their lifestyle. It's just not a good picture. But he was engaged in this, he says, in Acts 26:12, and that's when the Damascus Road experience happened. And light from heaven came, he fell to the ground, he heard a voice, Acts 26:14, and when we had all fallen to the ground, I heard a voice saying to me in the Hebrew dialect, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? It is hard for you to kick against the goads. Wow, so Jesus is calling him out. Verse 15, and I said, who are you, Lord? And the Lord said, I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting. Now I'd just like to stop for just a second here and make this point. Jesus, the individual man, although resurrected at this point, is saying to Saul that he was persecuting him. Now, Saul at this time is thinking, who are you? How am I persecuting you? But what I would like you to notice is that Saul was persecuting followers of Jesus, which later on, the Apostle Paul, he does declare and makes the case that we, followers of Jesus, are his body. So we are one with him. So Jesus is identifying himself as his followers here. He's saying, why are you persecuting me? Because he's saying, when you persecute my followers, my people, you're persecuting me because I am one with them. That's a very important thing to see. And we are doing the same. When we persecute Christians, we're persecuting Jesus. We have to be careful about that, because he takes it very personally that it's him that we're really having the trouble with. Look at Acts 26:16. But get up and stand on your feet. For this purpose I have appeared to you. So here it is. Jesus is telling him, here's the reason I've appeared to you. To appoint you a minister and a witness. Now that's what he said in Acts 9. Not only to the things which you have seen, but also to the things in which I will appear to you. So that's all the same so far. But now look, in Acts 26:17 and through 17 and 18, he gives us some more details here. Rescuing you from the Jewish people and from the Gentiles to whom I'm sending you, to open their eyes. Here's what I think is what I wanted you to see. This was his mission. The Apostle Paul's mission is this, Acts 26:18, to open their eyes so that they may turn from darkness to light and from the dominion of Satan to God, that they may receive forgiveness of sins and an inheritance among those who have been sanctified by faith in me. There it is, folks. That's what I want you to see. And I think we are going to do some more videos. I'm going to dig into this a little bit more here. So Jesus is telling the Apostle Paul here that his mission is to open other people's eyes, Jews and Gentiles. That's very important to see. He's telling them, I'm going to rescue you from the Jews and the Gentiles. Now, you can say, well, Louie, I don't think he rescued him. Well, he did. He was stoned and left for dead. He was put in prison. He was starved out. He was left. He was whipped. All of these things happened to him. But here he stands. Isn't that something? He's standing in front of King Agrippa saying this right now. So he might have had lots of scars and lots of lumps on his body. But the truth and the fact is, God did rescue him, and he did deliver him. See, that's the way it is in our life too. Sometimes we go through a lot of pain and agony, but the fact is, Jesus is our keeper, and he will and does deliver us from it all. Now, it doesn't mean he's going to deliver us unscathed and without some pain and suffering, but he does get him through. He gets him to the place where he's standing in front of King Agrippa, giving his testimony of how he was born again and what his mission has always been in the first place. It's astounding. So he tells him, he says, your role, Jesus says, your job is to open their eyes, to give them an eye-opening experience. And then it says that they might turn from darkness to light. So that once your eyes are open, see, the Apostle Paul was physically blinded for 3 days. And then when Ananias came in and laid hands on him, as written in Acts 9, his sight was brought back. Remember that? So Paul himself had this experience of coming from darkness to light. And then it says this. This one right here was the dynamite comment, I thought. And from the dominion of Satan to God. Now so in other words, this is a pretty powerful thing to get a hold of. And so I might do some videos based on this here right after this video. So I hope you'd stay tuned for that. So he's saying that these people that Paul is going to are under the dominion of Satan, that their eyes being shut and them being in darkness is symbolic, or it's significant, because it's saying that they were under the dominion of Satan. Now, I don't know if you see yourself this way or not, but the facts are the facts. If you are lost, the Bible in Ephesians 2 tells us that we were all dead in our trespasses and sins, and that every one of us used to live and walk according to the world and according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now works in the sons of disobedience. That we all were in that position, dead in sin, in the darkness, controlled and ruled by another spirit, the spirit of the prince of the power of the air. Wow, I believe that's Satan. So the Apostle Paul is saying right here that Jesus' mission statement was for the Apostle Paul to open people's eyes and turn them from the dominion of Satan. Look with me really quickly here. Colossians chapter 1, verse 13 and 14. Very powerful verses here. Colossians 1, 13 and 14 says, for he rescued us Now some Bibles say delivered us. He rescued or delivered us from the domain of darkness and transferred us to the kingdom of his beloved Son, in whom we have redemption, the forgiveness of sins. That's it. That's what the Apostle Paul said his mission was. It says in Acts 26 that they might turn from darkness to light, from the dominion of Satan to God, that they may receive forgiveness of sins and an inheritance among those who have been sanctified by faith in me. So we have deliverance from of sins, but then we also have an inheritance when we're sanctified in Christ, when we are set apart for him. Oh man, it's so good. All right, so Paul's mission is right here, Acts 26, verses 16 through 18 primarily. And I told you before this is probably going to be the last video, but it's not. I don't think it needs to be. I think we need to look a little bit closer at this idea that we were all under the dominion of Satan before we came to Christ. Because I think most people think, well, it was just me. I'm just Louie, and I might have been doing some bad things, and might have been committing some sins, and might have been ignoring God and doing, and all of that. But we don't really go as far as to see ourselves as being under the dominion or the power of Satan as a lost person. And I think this is important to see. So I think I'm going to spend a little bit of time on that in the next video. And I hope you'll join me there, because it's very powerful stuff to get a hold of and to see it for what the Bible really says about what we were before we came to Christ. So I hope you'll just keep on, just stick with me and see where this takes us. I appreciate your time, and I hope this has helped you. I'll see you on the next Louie File.